What is up, Overwatch community? Welcome back to another episode of Watchpoint, the show where we go over everything Overwatch related. My name is Trips. We have a couple things to talk about today, including a Eurogamer interview with Jeff Kaplan, a couple of fan-made concepts, both hero and map, and a bid war right now on a team for Overwatch. But before we get into that, once again, I would like to welcome back to the show Volcha.
Hello.
And Yiska, you get to go last this time.
Nice.
Okay, so usually we jump right into the show topics right ahead, but I kind of wanted to get a feel from you guys as far as how your playing experience has been post-launch. Any, big troll teams as far as social interactions, people using microphones, people spamming, people flaming, leaving games, anything that sticks out to you?
I guess if I were to give an overview, I'd say that toxicity is a bit lower. Maybe like the trolls and shitheads have all kind of like gone underneath their rocks for the moment. As far as like troll type of compositions, like Bastion, Reinhardt type stuff, I don't see that very much anymore. I guess the community has figured out how to deal with that, and I almost never see Torbjorn. He's pretty rare. He's like a carrier pigeon at this point.
Yeah.
True. The thing is, like, Europe's still Europe, man. Like, there's still some toxic shitheads that will just go absolutely overboard to the point of hilarity. Like, to getting death threats, being threatened to be doxxed or whatever. I mean, it's like, the only thing I'm really missing is sort of like, I haven't seen anyone with a Russian name yet, I think. That's quite, as a CS player, that's kind of what's going on there.
As a Dota player, I haven't seen any like BR, any Russians, nothing like that. It's kind of crazy. I don't know. I know Blizzard is a little bit better with their region locking, but I don't know. It's a little bit strange to me. Maybe they just haven't gotten into the game or something like that, or region locking. Like I said, as far as like trolling goes, I mean, I've had fun trolls. Like the other day, it's actually a video that I'm going to put up. I went against a team that was 4 soldiers, a Lucio and a Zenyatta. And they would just all rush in with visors and pop Zenyatta ult and then pop Lucio ult and just try to murder us. But stuff like that, I mean, it's fun. It's not like super trolly. I haven't really seen any like feeding,
Yeah. One thing that really sticks with me is I've legitimately, since launch, not heard a single person talk in in-game chat, like voice chat. Not a single one.
I've heard a couple, but yeah, not that many. A lot of people are on like the Discords, like looking for group stuff and just doing stacks, basically.
Yeah.
Okay. So into the first topic, there was an interview with Jeff Kaplan by Eurogamer. And I am actually going to look at Overpoon.com, put together basically a blue post. I don't think it was actually posted on the forums, but it's quotes from Jeff talking about things that we talked about last week. Oddly enough, we kind of tend to do this with Jeff. McCree's Fan the Hammer ability is going to have its damage reduced, and they are testing buffing D.Va's damage or her survivability, and they will only do one. They don't know which one that they're going to do yet. Fan the Hammer, obviously we talked about it, so we won't stress it again. A lot of people were kind of up in the air whether it should be Flash or Fan the Hammer, but I think the general consensus is that people just don't like that he's able to just murder tanks. It's not, the stun grenade is annoying, but it can be deflected or defense matrixed or stuff like that if you're fast enough, but it's not fair for him to murder tanks. Do you guys agree, disagree?
Well, I'm kind of worried about the proposed change. The wording says, like, he'll have a chance if he gets all of his stuff off against a tank, which leads me to believe it's probably going to be Fan the Hammer. 2 Fan the Hammers will be something like 400, 500 damage, maybe.
So, maybe he won't be able to kill Roadhog and D.Va?
Yeah, but even then, I mean, that's a shitload of damage, and that's basically kills a tank. I mean, if you think about it. I mean, if you bring a tank down to like 75, 80% health, that's pretty substantial. That's basically Reaper right there. Yep. So I'm kind of worried about how it'll play out, and kind of surprised that they went in that direction.
Yeah, it's a good question if it's enough, because okay, right now it's actually so crazy that And I think only Diva and like Reinhardt, because of their armor, survive a Zarya shielded anything. Like otherwise, you can double fan the hammer into anything that has a Zarya shield, and you would kill it. And that's obviously absolutely crazy, also for his ultimate billing ability. And that would actually also slow down, I think, because of that.
Yeah.
Like that's also an implicit nerf that comes with the territory. Then again, it kind of feels strange that they go this way, because it's such an obvious nerf to them. Like they had the foresight of doing this with Zenyatta, where they reduced the damage mid-beta, like for right clicks, that every projectile does less damage now. Yeah. Like, why would it take them so long to roll it out, sort of? You know,
I think honestly, my opinion is I think that they're, instead of like doing these small hot fixes because there's problems, I think they're kind of gonna throw everything in a big package. So they're not drip feeding. They're gonna give us like a huge present of balance change and competitive all at one time, which is up in the air if that's a good thing or not, because it can become a problem for a while, like McCree is, you know.
Yeah, it is a problem getting like flavor of the month builds in ladder, and then they get up basically, I guess you could say, higher than they should, and there's a danger for that if they do it that way. I mean,
it's actually true, yeah.
I mean, maybe like Tracer or I don't know, whoever is all of a sudden really powerful because of the change.
Okay, not to stress on that one too much. We did talk a lot about that. End of June, like we said, will be the release date for competitive. Seasons will last for 3 months, and losing a game will result in a demotion. So they kind of went back on how the competitive system worked previously, where you could like get up to a tier and then you'd be there forever, even if you lost 100 games in a row, which is good. I don't know how I feel about one game. You know, like if you go in and you lose a game, should you automatically lose points, or should you have like a barrier of if you lose 2 games, so the, you know, in case you get into a fluke game where everyone leaves or something like that. But it kind of also has that same, like, you know, fluff of just kind of carrying people up higher. If you win, lose, win, lose, win, lose, you're not technically losing anything.
Yeah. I think how League handles this is like, if you leave the lobby or leave the game, or if you leave the lobby, there's like a smaller penalty. Like, for instance, if you're dodging opponents, or if you're dodging actually teammates, if you don't get along. I guess you can kind of circumvent this with a rating system in Overwatch, but still. And then if you leave mid-game, you just lose the full amount of game MMR you would lose if you were to not win the game, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's probably the fairest system they could come up with.
And in the new content stuff, were talking about Sombra for a while, and they said that he's glad that a lot of people are concerned and finding hints about Sombra, and he actually said that there's a lot more hints in the game towards other characters, that it's not just Sombra. Sombra isn't coming out immediately, but, you know, obviously he kind of acknowledged her as a character, but without giving any other hints. But he basically is opening up the floodgates for people to search every inch of every map and every audio log and things like that.
Honestly, I think Kaplan's just being a
troll
at this point. I mean, people have gone through everything. I don't know.
I mean, either this, or just think that then there should be sort of like an anti-spy person in Blizzard that just keeps track of community involvement in trying to tinfoil head solve these issues. Like, how would he ever know that we haven't found anything? Like, is there some person dedicated to finding out if we already know? Like, it feels strange. And the way he phrased it, like, no, sir. Like, he put emphasis behind it, and it's like, how can you be so sure about something like this? It's like,
maybe it's like some little doodad or something, like a nipple tassel to a character. You know, we haven't found the nipple tassel in the corner of the map. You know, that's the clue. Who knows?
I can't remember what map it was the other day, but like at the end of the game, there was an audio log, and I was trying to listen. It's like very faint, and it's like people talking in the background. But I think it was Numbani. I think so. Anyways, play of the game is being a little bit reworked, not reworked, update, I would rather say. And they're thinking about potentially different camera angles. So instead of having it in first person, let's say for like a Junkrat tire, it would be behind Junkrat and he ripcords and it follows the tire in like a third person cinematic view to make it look more epic rather than just watching someone, stream. Basically is how play of the game looks right now.
I'm kind of undecided about that. I really like first person play of the games. You get to get a general feel about the person's skill. If they're a Hanzo and they're hitting headshots, it feels good watching it in first person. Third person, I don't know. I guess it would depend on the ultimate or the situation. Yeah. If it's a Pharah, channeling an ult, okay. Or McCree, okay. But if it's someone like, actually shooting, I'd want to see first person.
Yeah. The thing is, if it's like utility ultimates, like a Mercy resting people, I think the third person can actually be giving you a better idea how impactful it actually was.
Yeah.
Like later in the game.
Or even Roadhog, where he's not aiming, he's just spraying, and it looks cool. I mean, to see him winding up his gat. But like watching a Widowmaker snipe four players right in a row is not going to look that cool in third person.
Yeah. That's basically a no-go.
I'm making a prediction right now that there's going to be some massive camera bugs, and all over the subreddit there's going to be bugged camera play of the games, just stuck in trees or behind textures.
Definitely. And the last thing on this Eurogamer is only 0.08% of the matches have been using their high bandwidth setting in the custom games. So all the people complaining about the server tick rate and all that yada yada nonsense, basically what Jeff said is that he needs more data to be able to put that into quick match because of I can't remember if it's client side or server side, but if you tick that box and make it a higher tick rate, it affects the lag if you do not have a good connection. So if you tick that box and they make all of the servers the higher tick rate, it will basically screw up anyone who has a poor internet connection. So they need more data before they go ahead and do that and screw up 1 million players.
I haven't played with it personally, but I assume the screw-ups would look something like teleporting players, something like that, probably.
Yeah.
The thing is the following. We've actually toyed around a lot with it, and the thing he says, where currently 20% of the player base is unable to use this feature, that's actually, I don't know where you get that number from, because every single pro I've talked to, and including us, are completely unable to use this feature because you just get immediately thrown back into the lobby.
Yeah.
Right? It crashes a lot in that sense, and while his reasoning is solid to say it would be negligent to introduce a feature that could potentially screw 20% of the player base, and they obviously need data, they like to kind of put the burden on us or the blame on us when it's basically a system that's almost completely unusable is kind of left a bit of a bad taste in my mouth. And I mean, in general, it's obviously an awesome thing to have, but it's just not working in my experience.
I don't know too much about it. I've never used it myself, but I assume if it has a bad reputation of like being shit, then like tournaments and even scrims are just not going to bother. It's a pain in the ass enough to get 12 people and spectators into a match and then like have to redo it over and over again because it's probably going to crash. That sounds pretty bad. Sounds like something I'd never want to use.
Yep.
I don't have too much knowledge as far as tick rate goes other than the cup fairs that they introduced to us, but hopefully they improve the servers, but I don't really have too much to comment past that. So next up on the chopping block, before we do that, this is the second week in a row, I did forget to mention some of our opening mentions. If you guys are watching on YouTube right now, we do have video playing for you of games that either was played by Volcha or Yiska or one of us. And if you want to send in clips, not just play of the games, you can just send it to our email at watchpointtv@gmail.com with the file attachment. I don't know if are you able to rip YouTube with obviously their permission, their YouTube videos, or is it going to screw up the quality of it, you think?
It'll be lower quality, but that's fine. Whatever.
Okay. And the second thing would be that we're actually super close to 100 subs on YouTube. Today I just checked it and we hit 70. So once we hit 100, we're both going to get the custom URL, which should be, if nobody's taken it, youtube.com/watchpoint, Watchpoint TV, probably because that's what our Twitter and Twitch is. And I'm also going to give away a full copy of the game. And if you are on PS4 and Xbox, I keep mentioning this. I don't know exactly how. Maybe Amazon might be the best way, and just like give like a gift URL that you can fill out your information in. But I will be giving away a copy of the game. Hopefully it's for PC. And other than that, if you are a small content creator, or you're a fan of like a small content creator, obviously we would love to have a huge content creator on the show, but as we're kind of small ourselves, it might not work out. We need some guests for the show. We're searching on our own, but every word is possible. If you make a comment on a small content creator's YouTube page and saying, hey, you should be a guest on the show, it helps us out too. But besides that PR nonsense, the second topic on the chopping block is going to be a fan-made hero, which you think that and you think, oh, it's going to look, it's just like a pencil drawing and stuff, but this actually looks ridiculously well polished for the state it's in. I think he did say that he's starting 3D rendering, and there was a couple links to that. But this was made by Mario Manzanares. I can't even pronounce this. Manzanares. I'm sorry, I probably butchered that. But anyways, he made it on artstation.com. We should have the link in the description. But it is a concept for, I'm guessing, an Indian-based character with a poison spitter and almost like a poison flamethrower. I do have a couple of pictures here on the cast. That's the main art concept of the character, and his name is Zameen. And this should be the gun. And how he has it set up is his main pistol, or not pistol, but his main rifle is medium to long range, and then he uses left shift or 1 and 2 to shift between his guns, because he took away an ability and gave him a gun as an ability, because he might be too powerful with another ability on top of having 2 powerful weapons. And the second gun is a poison spitter, almost like a flamethrower, or kind of like May. And it would create a cloud of smoke that would poison people in the area. The second ability is, I believe, bound to the E, and it's a snake that he would spit out in a line, and the snake attracts to a target. Once it attracts to the target, it would explode and daze them. I don't know if that's a flash grenade type of deal, or if it would be like a slowing, kind of like blur screen, and it does a damage over time. And then finally, his ultimate would be, he sets down his, I want to see if there's an actual name for it. Yeah, it's called the Shisha Cannon. I'm pronouncing that wrong probably. But it's a Shisha bomb. And he sets down his flamethrower or poison spitter gun, and whatever is left in it would explode in a radius. And it would be used to clear points or clear chokes, things like that. Do you guys have an opinion on the character itself, its artwork? Any of like, how do you feel about damage over time spells?
I think the art is excellent. It's top notch, fantastic stuff. He should be highly commended for that. As for like how he would fight, he seems a little bit similar to May, which I don't like. And damage over time, I'm just generally wary of in FPS games, because I mean, to me, if you're damaging someone, you should hit them. And if you've got damage over time, that kind of just sits funny in my stomach, I guess, just as an FPS guy. But other than that, I mean, it's pretty cool. I gotta say, good submission.
Yeah,
it actually reminds me a lot of Well, the poison ability, or I guess the slow ability. You came up with a character concept when we had the character concept cast. It's pretty
Yeah,
similar.
yeah. A lot of I guess the theme is kind of similar, and then also the ultimate is uh, uh, quite quite the same.
Are you
Like a
calling him
little bit
out, dude?
different, but no, no, no. I'm not saying. I'm just saying. I guess it's also a quite obvious concept in itself.
Yeah.
The theme he went with is kind of funny to me. Like it looks like a character from Aladdin, you know, the Disney movie,
Yeah.
sort of thing.
Mhm.
I love that about him. I don't know. He looks like I don't know if they would introduce you know that theme in that regard because it's like super stereotypical with the you
So
know
are all
like
so are all the other characters,
I
though.
guess in the yeah
That's Blizzard. Blizzard's not afraid to be. Everyone calls them racist, but it's just stereotypes. There's nothing wrong with a stereotype.
yeah I guess even though they are kind of I guess other than McCree
Yeah.
it's like they're often mixing stereotypes at least you know.
I just think it's cool because I mean, it's the first bite of like, ooh, there might be another character. Even though it's not official, it's fan made. It looks damn well put together. Like, just the guy must have put a lot of time and thought into this.
Is the strongest part about the character design is the silhouette, and all the characters so far in Overwatch have pretty distinct silhouettes, and his is pretty distinct. So he'd fit in
Yeah.
pretty well into the roster, I think, as far as looks go. As far as like Poison Cloud, I would actually like to see some sort of cloud ability in the game that obscures a vision as some
Smoke
sort of
grenade.
yeah, something
Yeah.
like that might be neat.
Yeah. I guess his headshot hitbox would be huge though.
No, dude, that's just his hair. That's not count.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's cool. I don't think there's too much other to say on that. But next up is another fan made content. If I can not blast out people's ears, I will turn it on. I'm only going to play 30 seconds of the video because it's not our video, and I would like you to go to this guy's YouTube channel to view the rest of it because I want to give him the credit. But this was made by... Let me make sure I'm giving him correct credit. This is on Reddit. This was made by Rivers of Redness, and his YouTube channel is Chris the Jam. And those are separate words. But here we go. He made this in Unreal 4, and it's called Smugglers Cove. And he said he's been working on it, I think he said for 12 months, so about a year. And he actually used it to apply to Blizzard. If you look right now, there's a couple of like or barrels full of coins and stuff like that. And that is, I mean, he said he used some assets from League of Legends. So that is probably all I'm going to play of that. And yes, it was a YouTube video. But he said he used some assets from League of Legends, and he said that he put a lot of time and effort into it, and which you could really tell if you looked at. There's also a link to some of the pictures and assets, 3D models, things like that he put together, stairs, trees, wells and ghosts, stuff like that. There's a whole another minute, just over a minute to see in the video, so please do go check that out. Give that guy a like. Tell him that we sent you. And this kind of opens up between those two the floor to, I believe, a question that we've had on the podcast before, which is, like Dota, like StarCraft, fan-made content and how we could get it integrated into the game. Whether or not Blizzard's going to do it or not is probably leaning towards no, at least at this stage, because it is very, very new, the game release. But with submissions like this, as far as just not submissions to Blizzard to get them put in, but just for fun because they felt like making it and because they like the game, how do you think, or has your opinion changed on fan-made content in Overwatch?
Well, first of all, seeing this makes me very sad for two reasons. The first reason is I could never paint textures that good ever in my life, and that makes me very sad. And the second is this sort of stuff we're probably not going to see in the game for a very long time, and that makes me more sad. I don't know, fan created content, fan made maps. That's sort of like in my gaming DNA. That's something I've always looked forward to and always liked, and we just don't have that in Overwatch. It's just straight up, it's not there, and that bums me out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think in general the industry, especially like the IT background, and then also gaming industry in general, just lends itself to people that don't necessarily even have to have a degree in it. Just showcase their talent, and then someone eventually will pick them up and give them a chance, right? Like if you look, like Jeff Kaplan was some EverQuest raid leader that spew great ideas actually, but with a potty mouth on the official forums in EverQuest, and said like that this is a no-go, and then he was hired by Blizzard down the line, right? And the thing is, like, I think from an artistic point of view, I absolutely love the map. Like, okay, you could argue a little bit about visual clutter, and I think that's always Overwatch. That's always a concern. The other thing is like from a gameplay perspective, and I cannot actually fault him for that, right? We don't actually really know what a good Overwatch map looks like right now. We kind of have a preference in competitive towards maps like King's Row, for instance, and that sort of seems to be like a good map. And I think it has a lot to do with the lot of different ways you can approach certain key points on the map, and you have a lot of ways to, go about it. But yeah, just the map layout. If I was to remove all structures and have it like as a blueprint with lines, it seems very. It doesn't seem to be a lot of verticality, and I think that's one of the FPS elements in Overwatch that kind of makes it unique, right? This up and down movement you have in these maps, that also lends itself to strategy for different characters, and single-handedly can make characters that would be mediocre on a map instantly more powerful because they can either travel there or hide there or whatever, right? So yeah, but in general, just pretty awesome job.
Okay. In my opinion, I mean, I know Blizzard has this like high standard of what they consider polish and what they want to be shown to the public. I mean, we didn't ever talk about it because I don't care for that information, but like all the, porn stuff that come out for Overwatch and stuff, they're very controlling of that, and they don't want their game that they just put out being touched by people who are going to ruin it. So I feel like they're kind of obviously, I'll say, protective of their assets, just like the Nostalrius bullshit that went on. They're very protective of what they made, and this is why it takes so long for things to come out. And I don't think that, even though they have StarCraft, and even though they have, there's random maps on there that are unfinished and stuff like that, that's not something that we will see. And I don't even think we're ever going to see like dedicated servers or not dedicated, non-dedicated servers, like private servers for Overwatch that you would see in like CS or something like that, that like we could make a server and host or something like that, and you could make your own maps for it. That's just way far out, but it is, like I said, it's cool that this stuff is coming out. That kind of covers the fan-made stuff. And this is not really a big topic, but it's just kind of a mention that on the subreddit, we are actually very, very close to 400,000 subscribers on the Overwatch subreddit. I think it was something like 7 million people were playing when it launched, the week of launch, something like that. And, I mean, there's people like T-Pain and people, I mean, they played it on Conan, on like dumb gamer, unintelligent, whatever it is. I don't watch Conan. But I feel like Overwatch is almost exploding more than we thought. I know, Yiska, you said, what did you say? Did you say top 3 or top 4 on Twitch within a year?
Yeah.
And it's already 4, there.
Yeah.
It's like in 2 weeks, it's the third on Twitch. Hopefully it doesn't drop, because I know after a couple weeks, a lot of the super popular games drop off. But Overwatch has kind of exploded more so than we thought. And I believe right now I saw a post, it could be inaccurate, but I did see a post that Overwatch is currently the highest subbed first-person shooter subreddit, period.
Yeah, has to be, actually. I
Because
couldn't imagine anything.
Hearthstone is 362K, WoW is 275K, Diablo 144K, and Heroes of the Storm 127K. So, I mean, after, again, I apologize. I know plenty of people that like Heroes of the Storm. I find it fun. But after the kind of crappy launch of Heroes of the Storm, and then it crawled its way into the corner of esports, Overwatch is a nice, bright future for Blizzard again.
Yeah. I noticed something that's happening is there's a bit of a backlash against the popularity. People are kind of complaining about like hitboxes now and tick
People
rates.
are nitpicking.
Well, they're really trying to make a big deal out of both. In like a lot of the other subreddits, like the other gaming subreddits. I'm noticing it's very popular to say that Overwatch is for the casual people, and they point to these two things. And I don't know. It seems strange that there's this really strong small backlash happening for these two reasons. I don't know. We could talk about that at length, but I don't know. The hitbox thing to me isn't a big deal because, I mean, lots of games have really crappy hitboxes like that. It's just part of game balance a lot of times. I mean, TF2 had pretty big, stupid hitboxes a lot of times for projectiles. I don't know. I guess you could say they're nitpicking, but they seem to be like getting personal about it. You know what I mean? They're like, I don't know. Maybe they just want to be like hip. Maybe they're like hipsters and they just want to like play like some niche game in the corner of the universe somewhere and like say that they're like the master PC race. I guess I don't know.
Just for reference, I did look up. Currently, League of Legends is sitting at 836,000 subs on Reddit, and Dota 2 is sitting at 276. So Overwatch in just launch week, I want to make sure, just launch week beat Dota 2 subreddit by over 100,000, which is mind-blowing because Dota's been around for 10 years.
True, yeah.
So,
I mean, it's kind of in the nature that, like, Reddit itself is kind of peaking right now in its popularity. I don't know if it's peaking, but it's surely bigger than when Dota 2 was initially released. And there's always, that's also the thing with Twitch. Like, you can expect the numbers to dwindle, like not dwindle, but surely go down by a good margin. And a lot of it is also that, like, the big variety streamers are streaming it right now. Soda Poppin' and Lyric, and eventually they will go away. And then from 100,000 viewers, if you take Lyric away, that's 70,000 viewers you have left, right? Yeah. Still, obviously, very significant, but that's not really the quality of a game. Like, you can almost ascribe this more to the great marketing they did. The real question and the real test for Overwatch will be, does it have the lasting power to keep people playing, right? And this is also where the seasons come in, where competitive in general comes in, where obviously eSports as a factor for longevity of the game comes in. It's like that will be the true test of time, because. Like there isn't an esport that came out and within the first year it was at its peak. It always takes 2-3 years, 3 years, for some games even longer. And sometimes these games are almost about to die. Then the developer does something, and then they are back on the map again, right?
But do you think that's because, I mean, before 2 years ago, esports was very small. I mean, maybe not 2 years, maybe 3 or 4 years ago. Before that, esports was really small. So when League came out and it had 100,000 players, when in beta, it created esports. Like StarCraft 2, League of Legends, like that era of games basically founded esports. And so now this game coming out in the middle of esports, do you feel like it's still going to grow, or do you think it's just super popular because it's easier and it's in everybody's eyes and things like that?
Let me just chime in so I don't forsake my hardcore rules. But to say it kind of made esports, I think what it made is a new era of esports. Like people were already competing. They surely raised it to the next level. That's undeniable.
Okay, let me correct myself then so I don't sound like a tool. I feel like League of Legends and StarCraft and like the Twitch era made esports more of a spectator sport rather than there's always been people competing. There's always been Street Fighter tournaments underground and at arcades and things like that. Esports didn't just come about 6 years ago. But it rose to, like you said, a new era. So, yeah.
Most definitely. Like the contribution of Twitch itself, right, is huge for esports as a whole. Like for people to be able to personally relate to these top players is a huge asset to esports. And honestly, like stuff like Take TV would have been impossible. Like, for instance, 2010, I went to Cebit. Like, it was quite unheard of to have your flights paid. ESL offered a hotel, and it wasn't really a hotel. It was like like a bedroom with like 4 beds in one room on 15 square meters, and I actually had to share a shower sometimes, like with the entire floor. Mm-hmm. And I actually had a shower with Markelov once. I'll tell you this later.
A little weird, but continue.
I'm just going to let it sit here.
Okay.
Now, like for these tournament organizers to be able to, because of the success of the other games, to say, okay, we are flying you out, we're providing food, we're providing hotel rooms and everything, that would have been absolutely impossible like 6 years ago, right? For such a small tournament to do this. Now the sponsors are in, and people can, like, nobody's really making money out of running Overwatch tournaments right now, right? It's all in the confidence that this thing will grow, and these people then have the pole position because of the work they did before, right? And like that is obviously a huge asset to Overwatch as an esport, and makes it much easier to create it out of that. And then you almost have no excuse with the developer backing it, with the industry in place. Like if it was to not get as big as we expect it to be, then it's basically on the game, right?
Yeah. I think that I think one of the biggest things why people fell in love with League of Legends, because that's where honestly I started. I started in League of Legends playing MOBAs. I mean, I did play a little WoW Arena before that, but I sucked. But League of Legends, I feel like, got you into the game the same way that Overwatch did, with all the cool characters, all of the, each person's backstory that they didn't bother you with, because that's not the point of the game. It's not a story-based game. It's competitive. But I think Overwatch really has to, now that it's out, I think it has to stay on top of releasing new characters. Not that they need to, or maps. They need to stay up on top of content, because Warlords of Draenor, I mean, we're still in the Blizzard, realm. People are going to understand. But Warlords of Draenor, when that came out, I had a lot of fun for the first month of that expansion. But why do people hate that game? Because after 6.2, I think it was, there was nothing to do. So everyone just took a break from it and quit. And that doesn't work in an esport. I mean, it kind of works in an MMO because you have a lot of time invested and people end up coming back anyways. But in an esport where it's like a skill-based game and you have to continue to tone up your skill and stay on top of everything, I think they have to stay on top of keeping people interested.
Yeah. It's kind of a schizophrenic situation, because I don't know any competitive player that when the game is not in a unfun situation where the balance is as, like, there will always be an imbalance, but if the game is basically playable, like, most people don't actually want the changes. They want to hone their skill and then become better. Like, but if I was a pro player right now and I was pouring all this time into Widow, which potentially could be shit tier in 3 weeks' time, that would be obviously a terrible situation for me, right?
Yeah.
At the same time, you want your developer to keep the player base around, your viewership around, right? This is like the two forces kind of going against each other. The competitive scene wanting to have like a stable environment, also not like huge patches before important tournaments. That's like, these gamble situations. But then again, like for instance, League of Legends, and I don't know how true it is in Dota, but that is basically being like that. The skill you need to have is almost like to be able to adapt to new patches the quickest.
It's basically like learning Monopoly, reading the rule book, and then in 3 months, I mean, Dota's kind of sparred out. It's like Dota's like maybe 3 times a year. So every 4 months, they hand you a new rule book and say, hey, all the pieces are the same, but a couple of the rules have changed. Have fun. So it's and I know people are probably going to bring up things like Smash, where Melee hasn't been touched in 10 years and the competitive scene is still thriving. But I don't know. I guess I don't know where the balance is between, I mean, obviously they're very different game types, fighting game versus MOBA, especially with the ability to patch, whereas in Melee you can't patch because it's an on-disc thing. I like the patching. I come into Dota, get kind of stale out of it for a while, and then they release a new patch like they just did a little while ago, and it's like, oh, okay, I'll go in, try some new heroes that used to suck, and now they either have more abilities or different abilities, new items, things like that. It's nice and it's refreshing. But I do completely understand the side of getting good and trying to stay good without the developers shaking you up too much, because there has been teams in Dota where they were ridiculously powerful. New patch came out, they are just garbage. Just because those heroes or those characters aren't good anymore.
I guess I kind of have both opinions in me. When I play, I feel like I could play this game forever, just as it is now, just to get better and play with just socially with the team, with my friends, just see what we could do. It's very satisfying just to win. However, if it got so stale that like every time we went up against a team, it was like 2 Winstons, something like that. Like that was all it was all about. Yeah. I could see me moving on to another game eventually. So I don't know. I'm kind of torn on new characters, new content, like how often it can come out. I guess if I were to like intuitively, I guess maybe like 2 characters released maybe in the fall and in the spring, 2 more characters, something like that, and maybe 2 maps like that. That would be, I think, manageable and adaptable, I guess.
Like 2 characters and a map every quarter. That would be cool. Every 3 months.
Or like every 6 months, I guess. Every 3 months seems kind of, I don't know.
Maybe that's a little bit fast.
I think that's actually, though, the release schedule we are moving it up to.
Like seasons?
Yeah.
Every competitive season?
That's true. And it's also, like, I guess we're going to talk about this a little bit later in the show, but there's already the idea that maybe there's not enough characters for certain rule sets in the game to implement them, right? And to make them interesting in that sense. And I think we're like also what the Eurogamer interview said is that they are only going to release 1 character at the time, because what they learned from beta was like people absolutely hated all 3 characters because they changed the game up so much that they hated every single character. Right now, it's just Hateful May left, I guess, because she's inherently annoying. But, yeah, like Diva and Genji aren't too big of a problem anymore. And I guess they attributed the huge amount of negative feedback to the triple release. Now, I'm not 100% sure that's 100% connected, right?
Yeah.
We talked about this before. That's again from a competitive player's point of view, like having these champion releases bunched up and then just having a new game, so to speak, to figure out in smaller increments would in bigger time frames would obviously be preferable. But then again, if you want to promote the game as best as you can, and they did it in League, right? They had, like, for the first couple of years, they had an insane release schedule, which was like,
it was like a hero a month.
Yeah,
yeah, it was like a hero a month. It was, or champion. Sorry, League people, but it was ridiculous.
Yeah, I think it was actually even faster in a couple of.
But I will say, there's no way that they released a hero or champion and then developed the next one in a month. These are backlogs of champions, which maybe that's what they're doing right now, is backlogging heroes, putting them together, polishing and doing all that stuff, and then releasing them, polishing, releasing, so they don't have to do these big balance changes. Because when League started releasing champions, they were not that OP. Now, ever since Zarya came out, for people who played League, Zarya was like one of the worst releases in League. She, especially because you have to buy the character in League of Legends, when she came out, she would be played in every single position, every single game, no matter what, because she did so much damage. She did so much CC. She just shit on everybody. It was not balanced at all, which is horrible for any competitive game. If you release a hero that is just going to be dropped into the game and shit all over everybody, it's not a good thing. So
the one thing that makes me, I mean, they keep saying that it's not the reason, but come on, like, there's no reason for Blizzard to introduce a new character that's too powerful, so everyone buys it, because there's, you get it for free, right? Yeah. In League, there's always okay, you kind of need to buy it, and then, I mean, they're saying they're not doing it, but the track record. I mean, sometimes, to be fair, sometimes their heroes are also quite underpowered. They release. Yeah.
Hey, fuck Riot. All right, I'll put that out there. They're lying. Of course, they release it. They could easily, with the money that they have right now, they could easily do a Dota style like payment plan. I mean, even Blizzard. I love you, Blizzard, but your payment plan is so crappy for Heroes of the Storm. I guess maybe I'm spoiled by Dota with every character being free, and now this is why I love Overwatch. All the characters are said to be free. I bought the game, man. Like, give me just a purchase price. Smite did the same thing too. They said you can buy champions or gods by themselves, or you can just buy the game for $30 and you'll have everything forever. Good on you, High Res. Good on you. We've kind of went off tangent here, off the topics. Unless you have something super important to say, I'm going to move on to the Manchester United. No?
Nope. Go ahead.
Okay. So there was a report on, let's see, this website is thescoreesports.com, and they are actually they took the information from Esports News UK Dom Sacco, his longer tweet. And basically what it is Manchester United is actually bidding for an Overwatch team, which was not disclosed, against Fnatic. So if you don't know, Manchester United is a huge football team, or club. Manchester United Football Club, I'm sorry. And they are bidding against Fnatic. Fnatic is a huge esports organization. I bet most people know who Fnatic is. And Manchester said that they're not basically afraid of Fnatic because they're most likely worth more money than Fnatic, so they could win easily. And there is a third bidder in this war that they didn't name. I guess my opinion on this would be, this is incredible. I don't know anything about football, but I've heard the name Manchester United, and having that big of a real sports team bidding on an esports, because A, they probably just want to make money, to be honest, but B, that it is getting super popular, this esports thing that the kids are playing, it's kind of putting it in the mainstream again. We love this mainstream popularity, while I know there are some snooty people who want to stay, underground and continue to be like this super cool hipster, like, we play video games and compete for money. I'm glad to see, I think it's E-League, correct me if I'm wrong, the Counter-Strike stuff on TBS, on TV, and now Manchester United, and we've had stuff on ESPN. popularity is not a bad thing. Popularity when they change stuff is a bad thing.
Exactly. Yeah, I think that's also often the argument of the snooty people. That once the big investment, and we like people who have been in esports for a while know this. Like when the officials come in, they try to change stuff up a lot of the time. Like what's it called? CGS was like they changed the format CS was played as. It was obviously like, and that's when the cynics come out and say, okay, maybe it's like as a competition, as like a viewership experience, and as a like an admirer of skill, and then to have the format budget is obviously a little bit of a problem. But then again, like I think just the exposure is, if you give it the money to the right people, they can obviously only enhance the experience for everyone, right? Yeah, I mean, what's like most interesting thing about this story to me is who's that team, right?
I don't know. Yeah, that's the thing. And they said that they are already sponsored too. I mean, the team that they are bidding for, they are taking from another organization.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and say there's no way it's outside the top 6, and I'm only saying top 6 because Luminosity is the 6th team right now. It's okay from a Eurogamer's ranking perspective,
yeah.
And the only reason they would be picked up, not because of their performance, but because of the exposure Seagull has. Then Creation,
obviously, also not an American team.
Yeah, not a. Oh, did they say it was an American team?
Why would Manchester United bid for an American team?
I guess they could, if they wanted to. Like, I mean, you see it with Envy, right? They took European players and put them into American gaming house, right? So it's not completely out of the question. Now, I don't have any inside information, and if I had, I wouldn't make these assumptions based on them. But like the obvious names, okay, they said they were already sponsored.
Yeah.
Cloud9 is not completely out of the question, even though I very much doubt it. Envy,
no, I don't want Fnatic to be taken by Cloud9, man. I don't want to be a Fnatic fan.
Envy Envy recently just got a cash injection into their organizations, so they would probably be especially the lineup right now, like how they invest in them with the gaming house and just how well they are playing right now, arguably like the hottest team right now.
Yep.
I have a hard time seeing that. What if Reunited became Man United?
Oh my god!
You're
onto something.
That's a possibility. Now, the thing is that obviously you have to think about is they were Fnatic once. Would they go back? Because if the bidding war is between Fnatic and Manchester United, then you would have to talk about their past as Fnatic as the organization. Now, I saw a stream from Too Easy where he said it was basically not enough money Fnatic was offering. Maybe Fnatic is wisening up to the situation and actually want to put some money on the table to have the prime Overwatch team, because one thing you have to say about Fnatic is they always invest in top talent and aren't as concerned about marketability as Cloud9, for instance, would be. Like, they assemble rosters a lot of the times not to be the best team in the world, but to be the best marketable team in the world.
Yeah.
So that would speak for Reunited. I also happen to know that, or Too Easy also said it on the stream, is that their cash, their startup money they got for their organization has they didn't go all out on the contracts, so they're actually like short term, which means they could just it would be a wasted effort in a way, because they have been building their own brand and been very active on social media, creating all these highlight shows. So, but at the same time, dude, if Manchester United is knocking, and from my understanding, the team has been in esports long enough to finally want a big payday, I like Reunited would be my first pick for this, right?
Yeah.
Rogue, I actually don't know too much about that organization because it's obviously a new one. I don't know what the backing there is. Like sometimes in esports, there's just some weird shit happening, like with Gambit, for instance, where there's some rich kid behind it, and that just pays out of his own pocket for a team. I don't know if that's happening with Rogue. It's like, yeah, I don't know where it's coming from. Like some Dubaian prince that's just swimming in money. I don't know how Rogue is set up. Rogue could obviously be a very good contender because they are also quite hot in that regard. They recently also switched out IDDQD and reassembled the lineup a little bit. I don't know if that's an indicator for things to come. Could always be, right? And their ties that don't seem too strict with the organization. Like, I would say one of these two organizations is the most likely looking right now. Yeah. So either Re becomes Man, or Rogue becomes, I don't know, it could be Fnatic, obviously. So that's quite interesting to think about. Who could it be? And, dude, if it's someone outside of top 6, fuck the agents that try to give the tips to these organizations, man. Come on, let's have the most talented and best teams have all the money for now, shall we? And drive them out to tournaments. Like, I really hope it's not like a top 20 team or something, right?
Okay. Do you have anything that you want to say as far as esports goes, as far as the competitive scene goes this week? Because I failed to watch. I did too much playing.
Dude, like, Envy is on fire right now. To be fair, Cloud9 kind of dodged them. There's some weird... okay, I don't know actually if anything prohibited Cloud9 from playing, if there was anything in real life going on with them, but it's like when people are on top in Overwatch, and there's like the slightest inconvenience, like, I don't know, I slept only 7.5 hours, not 8.5 like I usually do. I don't really want to play that tournament and lose my top spot. It has been that has been true for a couple of teams in Overwatch, but Envy won both the NA and the EU tournament in quite dominating fashion and beat Reunited 3-1. Now, to be fair, from what I know from Reunited, they can't practice right now. Like, Too Easy is writing a thesis and will go full time after being done with that, so they can't practice that much.
Yeah.
I don't know, but Envy in general, like, watching these VODs, I actually realized that, like, the strength of Cloud9 was always that they were at least a triple threat team, right? That Reaver, they had Surefour, and then either Grego or what's his name? Grego, Kai, yeah, could switch to a DPS class, which is quite unusual, right? That's a support like Grego can switch to Widow and then be like a star play, put out a star play performance, but. Like, watching these games, I really got the impression that not only is Tailspin single-handedly carrying Pharah up in these statistics we are seeing from the dude, he is such a beast. Like, he's so far and away the best Pharah player right now in the game. Like, he used to be actually in beta phase 1 and 2, like in the old enemy lineup, and they actually did it also with ear infections, and they were quite sick from what I've read, but. Like, Temu is obviously, like, from a McCree bot to an absolute Widow god. Like, okay, there's always the question with him, like, what happens with McCree and Widow get nerfed in the next patch? Will be able to adapt. And then, but now, like, Harry Hook, dude, like, same, like he's basically a better Grego in that sense. Like, I actually really underestimated how sick of a player he can be. like he has such great movement and like court vision sort of thing, like where he just moves incredibly well. He doesn't have like the absolute sickest aim in the game, but he doesn't necessarily need to have. And like Envy currently is a triple threat team easily. Like it's actually quite sick how they've developed since they've gotten into the team house, and the environment seems to be really helping them. I don't know. I'm in love with Envy again, I guess, even though they're not really the NBI.
I need to wait till we need to have a Cloud9 Envy match.
True. That would be sick. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. And I think that's the fun thing with Cloud9. Like they are some salty buggers. Like whenever they have like close series, they tend to make instant enemies with their team, and that like with the personalities on IDD, or I was about to say IDDQ with Envy. Like I could see some shit posts going, back and forth. I'm really looking forward to that.
That's what we were talking about super early on. Is that we need some of those star player shit talkers.
Exactly. Yeah.
Just people to stir the pot. Get those Twitch memes going, stuff like that.
Everybody loves to hate a bad guy, and everybody loves to see that bad guy go down and root for whoever's going against them. If that bad guy's on top, then all the better.
Yep. Oh. And honestly, like I'm like the top 5, everyone can like take a best of 3 or 5 from everyone. Like okay, Cloud9 is a little bit too dominant in the past, but I still like see Rogue come in like huge. Reunited, if they start practicing again, are always so forced to be reckoned with, and we're basically always in the top 3 since they entered Overwatch. And then Envy and Cloud9 are reaching like great level, like insane levels right now. And I don't know, like the next tournaments, obviously there's offline tournaments coming up too. Like this is going to be a lot of fun, I think.
Oh yeah, hopefully Blizzard changes their mind and has something at BlizzCon. Blizzard. Anything else as far as competitive going on besides the 2 weeklies?
There's the ONOC qualifier, One Nation of Gamers. To be fair, I didn't I watched some games from that qualifier, but I have no idea over the overall results. Basically, like I was watching my boys here, Northern Gaming Blue, competing in them, and they sadly lost to Nubris. But I don't know. I think that it's also the biggest prize pool tournament there ever was in Overwatch, 15,000, which is still not that much, but
actually,
that's a lot of fucking money.
I'm gonna be in the qualifier tomorrow for that. The team I play with, I think, if they get their shit together tonight,
Nice.
So we'll see how that goes.
Nice. There's 2 tournament qualifying tournaments, I think, as far as I remember, and I think everyone gets 2 chances, and I'm actually like that's a pretty awesome tournament. Do you know what the rule set is? If it's 1 hero limit or?
No idea.
I
was just asked to join it like an hour and a half before the cast, so I was like, oh, okay. And I hadn't looked up the rules for the tournament. I was aware of it, but
dude, seeding will absolutely screw you. If you end up playing like a godlike team, I'll record that, please, because it's probably not going to be streamed. But
I mean, you can't get better unless you get shit on, anyways. So
true.
At least you can see in person, like in the game, if you guys do get a horrible seed, you can see how the other people play and learn off of that.
Yeah, you can watch how people play in VODs and stuff, but unless you're like playing against it, you actually feel like the physical pressure of a really strong, coordinated push. You can't appreciate how good it is. So we're looking forward to
no lube punches you in the face.
Yeah. I'm also the type of person that occasionally leads like a humbling experience where I'm like, I'm actually shit. I'm not getting there. I'm just as bad, and now it's time to grind the A maps or whatever. Like,
Time to go to the nursing home.
Basically, dude, I'm spotting gray hairs everywhere in my beard. It's over, man. It's over.
Dude.
I guess I could play Reinhardt, but that's about it.
All right. I think that was a very good cast. I think we're pretty much done with this week. There were a couple of topics that popped up that we didn't mention. If you have anything you guys would like to hear next week, feel free to obviously email us, tweet us, comment on this YouTube channel or on this video of some things you would like us to talk about, things that are bothering you that maybe we haven't mentioned, or things that even if we get enough of it, maybe we'll talk about again, try to revisit. But before we close out the show, do you guys have anything yourself that you would like to promote, something that you're working on, something that you're going to put out, or maybe not?
Just doing more of those science videos, plugging away at those. I'll be making a couple more this week, and depending on if the team does get into the qualifier, I'll be uploading our videos for that from my perspective.
Nice.
So, yeah, that's about what I got.
Yeah, myself, I actually recorded a game last night that I need to work on. It's just a 6 stack. I don't know if I'm going to do... I don't know how I feel. Rather than like muting the VOD and going over it myself with commentary, or listening to all 6... Is that?
He's haunted.
There's an ice cream truck outside. I was like, what is going on?
I saw the twitching. You were about to run out.
But what was I saying? Oh, I don't know if I want to do... I think for solo play, I might do a muted VOD with post-casting. But I think with 6 players all coordinating, it would be more fun to listen to how people coordinate. So that's what I'm working on. So if you guys did like the cast, make sure you follow us on Twitch, subscribe on YouTube, and if you're a big Twitter person, follow us on Twitter. You'll know when we go live. All of our social channels, our personal ones, are in the description below Twitch. Also on the side of... Let's see if I can do this right. It would be there. Yep, there we go. Right there. If you guys did like the video, make sure you give it a thumbs up so that we know that we are doing a good job. If you have any questions, comments, concerns on anything that we've said in the video, put your own opinions in the bottom in the comment section. We do respond to them. We're pretty okay with it, at least within the first couple days of the video releasing. We're not always on the YouTube channel itself. We have our own personal channels, probably, that we are Google accounts that we're usually logged into, so it doesn't give us notifications, but we do check up. Other than that, guys, I think we're all set for this week. Hopefully there's a lot more. There was actually a lot of content to talk about this week. Hopefully next week's another full week, not a dry week. And maybe even it will be a patch. Maybe 2 weeks will probably be a patch. Probably 2 weeks. I think 2 weeks. Other than that, guys, thank you so much for watching this week's episode of Watchpoint, and we will see you guys again next week. Good night.